Yugi didn't just defeat Weevil, what he did was worse.
Why are you laughing?
To really understand how Yugi broke Weevil, I went back to the manga, but what I found shocked me, as I realized how much of a demon Yugi truly was. Now, the Duelist Kingdom arc gives us many spine-chilling duels, but behind the drama and the friendship speeches, we need to find the exact moment Yugi crosses the line of just being a straight-up villain. So let's pause, rewind, and find out what really happened during Y class as the duel which cemented Yugi as a cold-blooded predator. Throwing Yugi's Exodia into the ocean, leading him into a trap, and being an all-round cheat, Weevil is an underhanded creep who also happens to be the regional champion. Yugi begins the confrontation by offering his dueling deck to Weevil as a replacement for the second star chip he gave to Joey. He does this so when Yugi wins, Weevil will be forced to leave the island. However, in the manga it's a whole different story. Yugi is unhinged and even offers his own life. This shows the extent to which Yugi was prepared to go to in order to get revenge. Winning wasn't enough. Yugi wanted to humiliate and ruin Weevil's reputation forever. Weevil begins the duel by summoning the Killer Needle, but Yugi swiftly follows with the Mammoth Graveyard. Both monsters had an equal attack of 1200, yet after the battle, the Killer Needle was the only one remaining. Weevil confesses that he had lured Yugi into a forest as it gave his insect monsters a 30% attack bonus, bringing his Killer Needle's attack to 1560. Weevil had pre-existing knowledge on the secret rules of the tournament, which no other duelist knew about, unless you're Yugi, who figured it out with one glance at the dueling arena. Yugi actually has sneakily placed his Mammoth Graveyard onto a Wasteland slot, which also gave his monster a 30% attack bonus, which meant the Killer Needle was also destroyed. This is actually a very important clash in the duel, as Weevil underestimates Yugi's intelligence and pays the price, an underlying theme throughout. Yugi in the manga starts trash talking and calls Weevil a loser, saying that he is nothing but an insect compared to himself, which is actually quite strange, since I don't remember a single time where Weevil spoke ill of Yugi, even when he had the upper hand, almost painting Yugi, dare I say, as a bully. Weevil proceeds to summon the Hercules Beetle, which also receives a field power bonus, bringing its attack up to 1950. Yugi counters by summoning the Feral Imp, doing a combo attack with the Horn of the Unicorn, which boosts the attack of Feral Imp to 2000. However, Weevil still wins this battle, as according to the anime,
all monsters with a field power bonus were also resistant to any type of magic attack.
However, this is false. You see, in the manga, the forest field actually allows Weevil's insects to win the initiative. So even if it's Yugi's turn, the Hercules Beetle attacks first. And since the true attack of Feral Imp is 1300, the Hercules Beetle decimates the imp. Now, Yugi called Weevil a cheat.
You're a liar and a cheat, Weevil.
However, the truth is in the manga, as Pexis personally tells Weevil the rules of the Duelist Kingdom tournament. And Weevil is simply doing what anyone else would do and using this knowledge to his advantage. Is that cheating if the creator of the tournament is the one to give you that knowledge? Who knows? But speaking of Pegasus, make sure to go check out my last video on why Yugi could never defeat Pegasus. Anyway, Weevil summons the basic insect and combos it with the laser cannon armor, tripling its attack. And as we recall from episode 1, this is the very same monster which won Weevil the regional championship. So Yugi knew not to underestimate it and goes on the defensive. Weevil summons an army of insect monsters and stops Yugi from counter-attacking by placing a trap card face down. Weevil manages to turn his weaker insect monsters into a threat by equipping spells and using the field power bonus to his advantage, which kind of mirrors Weevil as a duelist. He's very small and unsuspecting, but his ability to use external factors to his advantage is deadly. However, Weevil allows his ego to take control and recklessly attacks into Yugi's Dark Magician, headfirst into Yugi's Mirror Force. But after every good move, Yugi makes sure to remind Weevil of his inferiority. He starts by claiming Weevil won the last tournament by sheer luck, discrediting his former title, and then proceeds to call him the weakest duelist on the island, almost getting personal. However, Weevil hadn't lost the duel yet, as he still had his boss monster in the wings. Weevil sets his larvae moth face down, still protected by the trap card, but Yugi is very wary of Weevil's tricks and recalls all his monsters with this.
The monster recovery card. It allows me to call back all the creatures I have on the field.
And then baits the trap card with a Kuribo. Yet what Yugi didn't realize was Weevil's true strategy, which was combining the larvae moth with the cocoon of evolution, as inside for the next 5 turns, the larvae will evolve, with the defensive power of the cocoon being 2000, as well as the 30% bonus from the field. The final defense was 2600, which is stronger than 85% of Yugi's deck. Yugi tried to shatter the cocoon with Gaia the Fierce Knight, with no luck, and as the turns went by, Yugi used a 2-card combination to turn the duel around, or so he thought. Using the Curse of Dragon and combining it with the power of Burning Land, Yugi destroyed the forest around the cocoon, removing the field power bonus, as well as the initiative to attack first, giving Gaia the Fierce Knight a second opportunity to attack the cocoon, but this time popping it like a zit.
Tasty!
The moth was awoken early, so unfortunately we never get to see the perfectly ultimate Great Moth in action, and instead get the Great Moth with only an attack of 2600. Fun fact, monsters which can fly in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, similar to the Great Moth, are completely immune to attacking creatures which are fixed to the ground, unless they possess magical or long-range capabilities, which is why early on in the anime, Harpy Ladies were so formidable. Weevil launches a devastating attack on Yugi's Gaia the Fierce Knight with Moth Hurricane, but is thwarted when Yugi activates Polymerization, fusing Gaia the Fierce Knight and Curse of Dragon into Gaia the Dragon Champion, a flying creature with enough attack to rival the Great Moth. That is until we learn the Moth Hurricane has a secret effect, which scatters poison pollen, drastically decreasing the attack of the champion. Luckily, Yugi draws
Makiyu, the magical mist!
drenching the field with a light drizzle, eliminating the poison pollen from the air, as well as setting up for a brutal attack from Yugi's summoned skull. His Demon Lightning is boosted by the water, which in the manga increases the attack by 600, whereas in the anime is a whopping 1000, totaling to be 3500, which is more than a match for the Great Moth, leading to Weevil's defeat. All factors point towards this being a great duel from both sides. Weevil and Yugi both played great, and as much as it's hard to believe, Weevil played a fair game, as we explained early on in the video, which again reinforces why I believe Yugi's constant verbal insults was unnecessary, and only brought Yugi down to Weevil's level. Now we've seen Yugi apply this strategy against Panic. He uses taunts throughout the entire duel in order to manipulate his emotions, leading Panic to make mistakes. However, that's not what happened during the duel with Weevil. Yugi only trash-talked Weevil when he had the upper hand. Proof of this is when Yugi defeats Weevil and again barrages him with mockery and threats, telling Weevil to get off the island, or he would pull off Weevil's legs one by one. Yugi, as much as we hate to accept it, was acting out of cruelty and bitterness for Weevil's past actions, a toxic trait which had no purpose apart from mentally damaging Weevil. Even in the manga, Yugi says the first person to lose all his starships is the champion of Japan, reiterating Weevil's fall from grace. And then it proceeds to show this panel in the manga, which is a retired Weevil. Yugi shows no concern on how this would impact Weevil in his life outside of Duelist Kingdom, psychologically, financially, and occasionally even physically.